Welcome to the Gifts for Glory podcast, where we celebrate and promote men and women using their gifts for God's glory. Know someone who is making an impact for God's kingdom using their gifts, talents, and passions? We'd love to meet them. Send us an email at podcast@giftsforglory.com. That's podcast@gifts4glory.com. And now here is our host, Dave Ebert.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest edition of the Gifts for Glory podcast. I am Dave Ebert, and I'm excited as always to join you, blessed as always to join you. It is Passion Week. It is the week that we celebrate the death and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So it's a very big week for many pastors. It's like their Super Bowl Sunday. So we want to wish all of our pastors a very great week of preparation, whether you've got a Good Friday service or just doing the Sunday services. We want to pray that you have just a great week, and that the guests and visitors that will come, that you will speak the word of God forth with power and with energy in such a way that you're going to see more people come to Christ this weekend. So good luck on the Christian Super Bowl Sunday this weekend to all my pastor friends out there. This week we want to get into our Devotion with Dave segment. What we're doing starting tonight and then through all of April. April is National Humor Month. And for me, for anybody that knows me, you know I'm always trying to be funny. I bat about 300, so I'm kind of like a Major League Baseball player. 3 out of 10 attempts to be funny hit. I do strike out a lot, but that's okay. But humor is so vital and is so important, and I truly believe it's a gift from God. I cannot imagine 13 men, most of them, roughnecks, not the elite of the world, but these 13 men hanging out 3 years in the wilderness, going from place to place to place, and they didn't have moments of levity. I truly believe that the love and devotion that the men felt for each other, that was developed with moments of levity and peace and joy. So I think that humor is a gift from God and is so important, that especially in these unprecedented times. I know that that word is kind of overused, kind of like social distancing and everything else that's gone along for the last year or so. But in these times, humor is so vital, and we want to celebrate National Humor Month in a big way. So each week, we're going to be featuring some incredible talents who use their gifts for God's glory, using comedy as a way to make a difference in the world. And that's near and dear to my heart. For those that know my story, know that I founded or co-founded an improv comedy ministry. I also teach improv comedy as a ministry to help people find their inner voice, whether that's helping them find their voice as a part of their ministry work, or rediscover their voice if they've been hurt or been through trauma. So improv and comedy, they're near and dear to my heart. So this month, for the month of April, yes, I know it's March 31st as we go live here on Facebook, but we're kicking it off a little bit early. And if you know me and anything about me, you know that I like to be places early. So let's get this month started of National Humor Month. And I want to bring up our Devotion with Dave segment. We are going to be reading from Proverbs 17:22. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. A lot of people will attribute that verse as saying a cheerful heart is also laughter is like good medicine. And to have a cheerful heart, to have that joy inside, I believe that God gives us laughter in order to achieve that, in order to find that cheerful heart, to find that hope. One of my favorite comedians is Michael Jr. He's a phenomenal stand-up comedian. And he gave an interview where he said that laughter is the tangible evidence of hope. And I often cite that quote. I often refer to it because I truly believe it. Teaching improv at Salt and Light Coalition, I've seen how laughter can seem to break through the weight and the burden that the ladies that I'm teaching are carrying. So it's such a gift from God that we have. That's laughter, that's joy, and it's it's so amazing and it's so important, and that's why we're celebrating National Humor Month. I have my good friend Jonathan Nicholas. John Nicholas, he's an actor, he's a comedian, phenomenal man of God. You're going to want to connect with him all over social. He says comedy gives a perspective that serious people just can't give. And I truly believe that. I honestly believe that. I think that there were moments that Jesus was funny. I look at how he and Mary had their relationship, and most mama's boys have a really great sense of humor. So I think that humor is so important. And going back to our verse, a cheerful heart is good medicine. When you laugh, when you feel that joy inside, you feel better. You feel like whatever is going on right here in front of you is not that important. And it helps you lift your eyes higher back to the mountain where God is. So find a way to have that cheerful heart. And now I do say that laughter is a gift from God, but like all gifts, if we misuse it, we can cause more damage than anything. So we have to look at laughter and laugh at things that fit in with Philippians 4:8, what is pure and lovely and righteous. That's where the joy of laughter comes in. So that's our Devotion with Dave segment, just diving right into our National Humor Month. Proverbs 17:22, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. So that was our devotion segment for today. Now, we were scheduled to have Mark Christopher Lawrence as our guest this week. There's been some technical issues, haven't been able to get him into the broadcast tonight. So we're still hoping that he'll be able to connect with us. If you don't know who he is, Mark Christopher Lawrence, he is a phenomenal comedian. You can find him on Dry Bar special with his own Dry Bar special, Clean Outta Compton, and he was also a star in last year's hit comedy Sleeper Agent with Leland Clawson, Gigi Orsilio, and Matt Falk. He's funny. He's amazing. And in fact, what I want to do for you is I actually want to share a stand-up set that he did on the Mike Huckabee show on TBN. I'm pulling this directly from his website. It's a phenomenal few minutes. So let's kick off National Humor Month with a little bit from our scheduled guest, Mark Christopher Lawrence, as he appeared on the Huckabee show on TBN.
My next guest is a wonderfully talented actor. You've seen him in hit shows like Seinfeld, Martin, and Chuck. He's also a very funny comedian. Would you please welcome back to our stage Mr. Mark Christopher Lawrence.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am Mark Christopher Lawrence. It's my birth-given name. It's not a made-up Hollywood name. You know, there's a lot of Hollywood made-up names out there. Ving Rhames, for example. I've been black 55 years, and not once have I met a brother named Ving. We like, as a people, we like to throw the Q around. You know, Shaquille, Shaniqua, Aquanetta. I met a little boy the other day, Tyrone, with a Q. He said, my mama said the Q is silent. I said, tell your mama the Q is stupid. I was lucky. My brother named his kids after things he likes. Cars he can't even afford. Porsche and Bentley. I got a little fat nephew, Hummer. My mother took my name right out of the Bible. You know, nice, strong biblical name, Mark, New Testament. You know, let me say this. If you use the Bible as a reference to name your child, you have a responsibility to read the chapter in which you found the name. So that people can know and your child can know what you are saying with it. You don't want to get that phone call at kindergarten going, come and get him! Beelzebub is the devil. I love being a comedian, and in my line of work, I shake a lot of hands, and I can tell a little bit about someone by the way their hands feel in mine. You know, for example, a couple nights ago, I was doing a show in San Diego, and I'm shaking hands with this guy, and I could tell that he was a hard-working man. You know, he had rough hands. You know, maybe a manual labor, real rough hands. Hands so rough they felt like stale oatmeal cookies. The whole time I was talking to him, all I could think was, I hope this guy doesn't slap me with these oatmeal cookie hands. You know, and then last night, I was here at Zany's, and I shook hands with this young lady after the show, and and I could tell I wanted to hold her hands longer. Her hands were soft and warm and comforting, like a grilled cheese sandwich and hot tomato soup on a rainy day. She made me feel safe, like I was wrapped in a baby cheetah. Warm and comforting, yes, but with teeth. She could hurt me, but I knew she wouldn't. Now, I said all that to say this. If we run into each other out there somewhere and we decide to shake hands, and you have something odd going on with your hand, don't just come up and stick it in mine without some kind of a warning. Because I don't have a whole lot of filter. Like one night after a show, I'm shaking hands, this guy rolls up on me, he sticks his hand in mine, we begin to shake, and I could tell there's something odd going on with this dude's hand. My curiosity got the best of me, so I took a peek. He had a tiny little baby hand with perfect little baby fingers and a perfect little baby thumb, but with hair on the back like a man. Remember the first time someone handed you a spork? See, you can't just sneak a baby hand in on a brother. You got to give me some kind of warning. If you know you got something odd going on with your hand, all I'm saying is we all have something. Years ago, I had this big 8-inch afro. I shaved it to do a play. When I grew it back, I had a big hole in my afro. So I don't judge. All I'm saying is, if you know you got something odd going on with your hand, warn me. Say, Mark, I'm coming in with a spork. Thank you so much.
I love that. I'm coming in with a spork. So without further ado, I want to bring in our guest. Our guest is an actor, comedian, and speaker. You've seen him as Big Mike in the hit TV show Chuck. Last year, as I mentioned in the open, you saw him in Sleeper Agent with Leland Clauslin, Gigi Orsilio, and Matt Falk. You can also see him in his own dry bar comedy special, Clean Outta Compton. And connect with him on his appropriately named website, markchristopherlawrence.com. He's been all over, and we're proud to kick off National Humor Month with this strong man of God. Please welcome Mark Christopher Lawrence to the Gifts of Glory podcast. Mark, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm holding on. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Glad we can connect. You've had a phenomenal career, and it's an honor to have you on our show.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. It's been quite a year, and so it's nice, when I can actually talk to people.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been doing things for a while. Your IMDb is incredible. What came first, the stand-up or acting?
I started doing stand-up in the 11th grade, so in like 1981. And then I did my first play in the 10th grade. But then, when I got serious about both, it didn't happen until I was in college. Mm. And stand-up was I called it my day job.
Nice.
Yeah, so roughly around the same time, I guess.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is most comedians start with a day job, and then comedy is their side hustle. But that was your day job. That's awesome.
Yeah, I had a 3-year period where I started doing a day job and realized it wasn't for me. Mm. I was bartending and waiting tables, and once the customers started getting on my nerves, I was like, okay, it's time to go chase this dream for real.
So a couple of the movies that a lot of people have probably seen you in has been I had a supporting role in Pursuit of Happyness with Will Smith, and one of my favorites recently was when you were in Sleeper Agent, kind of playing the straight man to Matt Falk and Leland Clausen's character.
Yeah,
and I thought that as a straight man, you fit that role perfectly.
Yeah, it's really easy to play the straight man with those guys, with Matt and Leland, because they're so funny. It was so much fun working with them. I can't tell you how much we laughed on that set.
I'm sure the outtakes would make a phenomenal release in and of themselves.
Yeah, I bet.
So how did you get connected with that film?
I met Leland at CCA, at the Christian Comedy Association conference, and then he and I sort of kept in touch, and then he called me and asked me to do comedy at his church, and I did that, and then he called me up and said, "Hey, I'm working on this film idea and wanted to know if you'd be interested in being in it." I was like, "Of course," because he's such a great guy. It's just it's hard to say no to that guy.
Yeah, and you tell him, of course, as long as the money's right.
Well, it wasn't.
That's what the sequels are for.
Friends. That's what you do for friends.
Yeah. So one of the most important parts of this podcast, the Gifts of Glory podcast, is testimonies. We want to hear the story of brothers and sisters in Christ in their walk. So as far back as you want to take it, let us know a little bit, or as much as you want to share, about how you found Christ. Did that happen while you were pursuing acting and comedy, or did that happen during that journey?
I grew up in the church. My mother, when you lived in her house, you was going to church no matter what. No matter what you did Saturday night, Sunday morning, you were at church. And when I got to college, it was one of those situations where I'd been, waking up to Shirley Caesar on Sunday mornings at 6 a.m. as loud as it could go. And I decided that, I wasn't going to church. I don't have to go. I'm grown. I don't need to go to church. I know how I'm a good person, blah, 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 blah. You hear it over and over again. Mm-hmm. And then just years later realized something was missing in my life. And it was the Lord. It's like I wasn't being fed. I wasn't growing spiritually. And the career wasn't doing what it probably should have been doing. And gave myself back to the Lord. And then things started happening. That's kind of the way it is. It's like I think just fathoming the idea that God is steady. Mm-hmm. And we're on this journey, and he's with us, and we stray from him. Right. And that's what I did. I strayed, and he went away, and came back, and he was still there. He was like, "Oh, you're back. All right, good."
Oh, you're back. Have a seat. Let's have something to eat.
Yeah.
So, was there ever a breaking point, or is it more a gradual process of things aren't going well, let me turn back around? Or was there a pivotal moment where you're like, I'm hit bottom and I need to turn back?
I never really hit bottom. I don't think, that wasn't the situation with me. I think I just kind of felt something was not quite right, and that church, and a couple of Sundays in a row, it was like God was talking directly to me. So I'm looking around going, "Pastor, why are you telling everybody my business?"
And then he got up there reading your mail.
Right. It's like, hey. and then one night, Miles McPherson was preaching. And I just felt led to go on down. And
nice.
That's what it was. And don't get me wrong, I'm no perfect Christian by any stretch of the imagination. Pray for me. Put me on your prayer list, because I know how I struggle, and every day is a journey. It's like God knows your heart. He knows what you're going to do before you do it. He knows your thoughts, and all this time off. My thoughts can get pretty wicked. So pray for me. That's all I'm trying to say.
Hey, nobody's perfect. The only perfect Christian, he got nailed to a cross. So,
amen.
We may not want that job.
But then on the third day,
yes, and we celebrate that this coming Sunday.
Yep.
As we said when we came on, we were like, "This is the pastor's Super Bowl Sunday this weekend."
You're right.
Right. Right now, they're like, "Oh, we're not having the youth pastor take the platform at all. It's all the lead pastor." So you said you started doing some comedy back in high school, and when you started doing it, was it something where people kept telling you were funny, or did you say, I think I can be funny, let me pursue this on my own?
No. So I grew up in Compton, California.
Mm-hmm.
During the height of the rise of the Bloods and Crips, and it was tough, growing up, but I was more afraid of my mother than I was of the gangs. My mother was my gang leader. And so when I got to high school, I ran into a teacher, Mrs. Schilling, who was my 10th grade English teacher. And she got me involved in speech and put me in my first play. And I kept qualifying for these state and national tournaments. And so my senior year, I was doing a piece called Stagger Lee. And she had a guy mentor me and coach me on the speech because he had done it before and thought he could give me some pointers. And he and I became friends. His name was Perry Brents. And he was like, man, you're pretty funny. He's like, you should probably think about doing stand-up comedy. And then my best friend in the world, he said, let's go to the Comedy Store and get on stage. So, okay. So we go and sign up for the potluck, and I got on, did 3 minutes at midnight. I was supposed to go in at like 10, and then some headliners came in and bumped a couple people, and then Robin Williams came in, 2 people ahead of me, and did 45 minutes. So I ended up going on at like midnight.
Wow.
And then Louis Anderson, when I came off stage, said, hey, you got something, kid. Keep writing.
Oh, wow. That's big.
So that was the beginning of it. And then it wasn't until I was in college, a friend of mine and I, we would go and do like open mics. It's like we'd be completely broke. Let's go do this open mic. And usually it was like some sort of a competition, like there'd be singers and dancers. And so we'd go and we say, okay, no matter how we place, we'll split the money. Because we always felt like we were going to be first and second. And oftentimes we were, but sometimes we'd get like completely shut out because it's like the hometown favorites were all there. But that sort of developed into, okay, now let's try to start getting into clubs. So we started doing that. And then I started opening for a lot of different headliners, which is really where I really started getting good at it. And because the headliners were always very helpful, because they wanted somebody good in front of them. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Canada with this guy, Jack Marion, and we did 18 nights there. And at the end of that tour, he told the booker, he says, next time you bring Mark up, you should headline him. He's hard to follow.
Wow.
And so that was when I started headlining.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So what's your creative process? How do you create your material? Is there a writing process, or is it shooting from the hip? How do you prepare?
A lot of stuff just pops into my head, but pretty much everything in my act, if you watch my Dry Bar special, pretty much everything in my act comes out of something that happened in real life. So like I'm a storyteller by trade, so every story is steeped in some sort of truth somewhere. There's something in it that spurred the joke. Generally the way I write, like I hit a few years ago, I hit this incredible writer's block. My life was kind of in turmoil, and I couldn't write. I was just stifled. And a friend of mine that I played football with was teaching a poetry class workshop, and said, hey, come on down to the poetry thing. So I went down, and there's a technique that he uses. It's a timeline, basically. Mm-hmm. You write the date you were born in left-hand margin of a piece of paper, draw a line straight across, write the present date, and then hash marks across the top of the line for everything that you can think of that happened to you positively. And below the line, everything that you can think of that happened to you negatively, things that impacted you. And by the end of that, you have all these stories, from your life. And so then what I do is I look at a story and go, oh yeah, this could be funny, or this was funny when it happened. And then some things are on it that are too close, you know, so you're not ready to talk about it yet. And then you look at it again, and probably every couple of years or so, I'll draw another timeline and see what new is on there, and you know, write the story and see what shakes out.
Yeah. So one of my favorite running bits through your Dry Bar special, Clean Outta Compton. Highly recommend download the Dry Bar app, check it out, and also leave my man a tip. You can tip at the end of Dry Bar specials and help support them because entertainers like yourself really took a hit last year and are still kind of taking a hit. So check it out.
We took a beating.
So yeah, I can only imagine the beating that you've been taking. So check it out, Clean Outta Compton. Watch it, leave a tip as much as you can get away with, as long as the spouse doesn't get upset. But
right. Ask first.
Yes, ask first. You know, we're a Christian show, so pray about it first. Pray about yeah.
Pray about blessing somebody.
But the running gag was the let out a little bit of pee. That cracked me up, and there's been a couple of times where I've you know, commented on some stuff you've shared. Not the scripture that you share, because I have a little bit more respect, but that running gag, how did that come about? Is that one of those steeped in truth, or is that one that you just thought would be funny?
So what happened with that was I slipped in the shower and broke my back.
Yeah.
And the cats literally came in, and one of them was sitting on my chest, and he's like, his face is this close to me, and he goes, taps me on the face, like, you all right? And so it started as just that. I just told that part of the story. And a good friend of mine who just passed away a couple months ago, Eric Dickey, we started comedy right around the same time. And he ended up being a best-selling author, wrote 9 books that ended on the New York Times list. He and I had a conversation one day. He goes, then what happened? He says, when I write, I always ask myself, then what happened? He says, that'll stretch your stuff. And so that's what I started doing just with that bit. I was like, okay, what happened before I fell?
Right.
You know, and then I started creating the whole curves bit.
Yeah. So with the fall, and you actually did break your back, is that right?
I crushed my T11.
Oh. Any lasting effects from that, or are you 100%?
No, I was doing a boot camp at the time, and you know, literally 2 months. I had slipped in the shower 2 months prior to it starting to hurt.
Wow.
And so I go to the hospital, and they do a CAT scan and an X-ray, and the guy says, you need to see a specialist. So my doctor recommended a specialist, and you know, he gets an MRI, and he says, you know, I don't think we have to cut you. He's looking at the MRI. He says, you see this? He says, you see that sort of mesh looking stuff? He says, that's bone growing. He says, your disc is out between 11 and 12. So he says, I think we just leave you alone. It'll heal itself. We got to put you in the pool and lengthen your spine so that the disc will go back into place. And so that's what we did. And then, you know, after a while, he released me because I was fine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear.
God.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah. So getting back to your career, how do you choose what projects to get involved with? Because you're obviously a strong man of God, and some of the projects that you're attached to, how do you choose which ones? How much does your faith play in that?
It's funny you should say that, because I had this conversation with Della Reese, and I did Touched by an Angel, and I had watched her in a movie called Harlem Nights.
Yeah.
She was so funny, but just a lot of language. And Della was a pastor, and so I had a conversation with her about that movie. I told her, you know, telling her how funny I thought she was in it. And she says, yeah, She said, but a lot of language. I said, yeah. And I said, so, what do you do with that when it's, do you get a lot of flack from that? And she says, look, don't worry about what the job is. She says, people that will ridicule you, people that will say stuff about you because of an acting job, they need to check their own heart. She says, because here's the thing, God won't open a door that he doesn't want you to go through. She said, so, when your jobs come, take your jobs. It's, she says, when I did that job, it wasn't me cussing, it was the character. I was like, okay. But I actually, over the years, I've turned down 2 jobs, and both of them were for cigarettes. One, I don't smoke, and I probably would look ridiculous smoking. And 2, it was right after I had done a movie called Fear of a Black Hat, and I played a rapper in it, and they wanted me to play that type of character. And in my head, okay, who are you selling cigarettes to with a rapper? It sounds to me like you're selling cigarettes to kids. So I passed. That was the first one. It was German. And then the other one, I can't remember what it was, but it was the same sort of thing. And I passed.
Yeah. One of my good friends is a fellow comedian down here in Florida, John Nicholas. He wants us to ask you about the time that you were on Terminator 2.
That was my first huge movie. I auditioned for it and didn't hear anything for a couple of months. And it was at a time in my career, it was about 5 years out of college, that all my debate friends, I went to USC on a debate scholarship, so all my friends on the debate team were clerking for judges and working at major firms, and I'm still kind of struggling as an actor. And I started thinking, man, maybe I've made a mistake. And so I started trying to find something else to do. And I look in the LA Weekly, and there's this big ad, like a 1/4-page ad for learn to deal cards. So I was like, hey, I can learn to deal cards. That we have placement in Monaco, Reno, Vegas, blah, 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 blah. $499 for the course. You can audit the first class, and then if you like it, pay the $499 and you got it. So I go audit the first class, and this is how God opens and closes doors. Every time I've tried to do something else, where I've thought, okay, I'm going to do something else because this is not working, God will close the door and I'll get an acting job or something like that. And in this case, he slammed the door shut. He's like, you ain't dealing no cards. like before the first break of the morning of that I was auditing the class, Suits came in and shut the class down. Apparently they were laundering money through this class.
Oh no.
And then about a week later, I get a phone call from the wardrobe designer on Terminator 2 asking me for my sizes. And I was like, wow. For what? I had forgotten all about even reading for Terminator 2 at that point. And she says, oh, it's for Terminator 2. And so I called my agent. I said, hey, I just got a phone call from Terminator 2. She says, I got a job. And they said, yeah, we're on the phone with them now, cutting the deal. And that was the Terminator 2 story.
Nice. It's amazing. Like you said, God will definitely shut the doors that you allow him to shut. Sometimes we still try to force them open. But,
right.
But yeah, that's really awesome. And John also said that he too enjoyed Harlem Nights. He said Harlem Nights was hilarious.
The movie is great. Every time I've seen it, just there's things, little things that are so funny because they feel like so much real life. Who would leave this little swallow of orange juice in the refrigerator? Why not just drink it and throw it away? Red Fox says, well, swallow it and shut up.
So we mentioned a minute ago that 2020 and now even still to today, entertainers have had just been beaten down financially and opportunities. Do you have any testimonies of positive things that have come out of the last year?
For me personally,
yeah,
I never needed anything.
Wow.
It's like there were times where I was thinking, I might be in trouble in a little bit, and all of a sudden, God makes a way. I remember the first time was around June, because I lost all of my work from March through like July, right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then around June, I was like, things are getting tight.
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden I was doing a film in Oklahoma.
Wow. Nice.
And then all the rest of my work started falling out through the end of the year. And then, we get a call, and all of a sudden I'm doing 4 episodes of the 8-episode pilot season of a show for Tyler Perry.
Okay.
In the bubble, you test for COVID, and the day after they hire you, and then you test again 3 days before they fly you out, private plane, and then you get there and you test the day you get to the studio, and they put you up in your housing, and you test 2 days later, and then every 4 days until you're done.
Wow.
Just a serious bubble situation, which was fantastic.
Yeah. That's awesome. And it shows that God will provide even in the hardest situations, not on our schedule. There are times when it's like, hey, God, did you forget something?
Right.
Do.
Right. Me and my sister was having this conversation the other day, and she says, I just stopped worrying about stuff because God keeps proving that He's God. I said, yeah, that's what He's doing for me, for sure.
Do you have any new projects coming out? You mentioned the Tyler Perry pilot. When is that going to be available?
I'm not sure when it's releasing. They just started talking about it last week, and so I don't know. It doesn't actually have a release date yet, I don't think. They're doing some reshoots right now, and then it'll start rolling up on BET Plus probably. If I had to guess, I would think it'd probably be sometime in the middle of this month or the middle of April.
Okay.
If I had to guess.
Do you have any stand-up gigs coming up? Are you touring anywhere?
Not really touring. I did 2 weeks ago. I did a church parking lot out in Santee, and I have another one coming up at the end of this month in Vista, California, which is North County, San Diego.
So the one you did in the parking lot, was that like a guerrilla thing where you just showed up and started doing it, or was it a booking?
You got a megaphone.
Yeah.
No,
megaphone. You just put your hat on the ground, like, here, fill this, please.
Hilarious. Yeah, they went through outreach events to get me. They tried to get me in January, and then things shut down in San Diego again. Mm-hmm. And it came back around, and they had a big giant tent outside, and people social distance and blankets, and it was cold. It's like I normally sweat a lot when I'm on stage. I didn't sweat at all, and about halfway through my set, I could see my breath. I was like, "Woo, it is cold."
And that's pretty rough for out west at any time during the year.
Yeah, it was cold. I think it probably dipped, into the 30s.
Wow. Wow. Well, Mark, one of the 2 final segments we have on the show, it's called the interrogation. What I do is I throw out 7 random questions that wouldn't have fit otherwise in the interview. And they're mostly softballs, but there might be a couple on the inside corner of the plate.
Okay.
So here is the interrogation. All right. Our first question is, what's your go-to comfort food?
Mm. Wow, that's a tough one. I cook, so it's probably, if I'm being lazy, probably like fried chicken.
Nice.
Yeah, but if I got some time and I would say gumbo.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So that's not really normal for California, right? Because you're born and raised there in Compton.
Well, my mom is from Louisiana.
Ah, okay. So you come by honestly. That's nice.
Yeah.
All right. Second question is: other than handshakes from weird hands, what's your biggest pet peeve?
People throwing their cigarettes out of their car windows when they're driving.
Yes.
That drives me crazy.
True story about that. I was in college, and it's halftime of a basketball game. I was outside, small school, because we go in and out, and saw this guy just chuck his cigarette into the field next to the gymnasium. I said, "Excuse me, sir, you dropped something." Turned out it was one of my friend's fathers, and I kind of had to apologize for being so rude. But he said, "No, I actually appreciate that." Question number 3. With whom from Scripture do you most identify?
David? Maybe. I'd like to be like Paul.
Yeah. I would too. Yeah, Paul. I
think with David, it's like there was he had so much struggle.
Yeah.
So I think David.
Yeah. Question number 4. What's something that you wish you were better at?
Singing.
Oh.
Well, let me qualify that. I'm okay at singing, but I wish I was better at it. But I also wish I was better at instruments. Like my left hand doesn't do what I tell it to do, so instruments are kind of tough for me.
Gotcha. All right, next question. What keeps you up at night?
COVID. I think it keeps everybody. I don't know. I think I come by being a night owl. Pretty honestly, I think I've always been a night owl. I go periods where I'm up 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and then I go through periods where I'll go to bed early, but that only lasts for maybe a couple of months, and then I'm up late again for months.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's anything in particular that keeps me up. I think I just I'm just a night owl.
Gotcha. Okay. Question number 6. If you could recast any role with yourself, what role would you most like to play?
No, we talking TV, film, stage?
Any.
I would like to play. Actually, I would like to play Iago in Othello.
There you go.
I think that's the best character. He's so treacherous. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So question number 7. Who's funnier, Matt Falk or Leland Clausen? No, I'm kidding. That's going to get you in trouble.
I'm going to go with me.
There you go. Good answer. The last one I wanted to ask is, if you could be any of the superheroes, Marvel or DC, who would you want to be?
I don't know that there's a superhero that's out there that I'd want to be. But if I had a superpower, I would want the power to heal.
Wow.
Even if it meant you have a year to heal, to go all over the world and heal any and everybody you can come in contact with. At the end of the year, you die.
Yeah.
I would do that.
Nice. That's awesome. And that was our interrogation. So pretty painless overall.
Pretty fun. pretty famous.
So the final question I ask every guest, for anybody that wants to either step into acting, comedy, or just in general, for anyone looking to step up and use their gifts for God's glory, what would your wise counsel be?
Stop thinking about it and put a plan into action to do it. Because as long as you think about it, you'll just think about it.
Yeah.
You gotta start doing it. If you want to be a stand-up, if you want to be an actor, go get some training and do it. Especially stand-up. Just get on stage. Go do an open mic. You might not even like it. I tell people all the time that come to me, hey, what do you charge for comedy classes? And I tell them, look, get on stage and see if you even like being in front of people, because that's part of it. It's like, if you don't like being in front of people, it might not work out for you.
Yeah,
but
stage fright and stand-up don't go well.
Stop thinking and do.
Yeah. Awesome. That's awesome advice. I appreciate it. So Mark Christopher Lawrence, we invite everyone to follow you on your Facebook page, MCL Actor Comedian, or on Twitter at Mark CHR Lawrence, right there on the screen, and also in our show notes. And also, again, download the Dry Bar app, look for Clean Outta Compton. You're not going to regret it. And also check them out. And Sleeper Agent came out last year. Won a lot of awards so far as with Christian films. So I really enjoyed it. I've watched it twice. Once with my wife. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Matt is the great bumbling, spy.
I'm connected to Nathan and to Leland. I've told them both that they need to do a second one where Matt Falk's character Eugene thinks he's on a mission trip to Colombia, but it turns out he's actually a drug mule.
That's funny. I think there might be something in the works.
Nice.
I think there may be some writing going on right now.
Perfect.
Also social media. I'm on Instagram, Mark Christopher Lawrence.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely connect at Mark Christopher Lawrence. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being on. I pray that you get more opportunities to get out there and get your gifts for God's glory.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone have a great rest of your day, evening, or night. We'll see you next time.
Yes. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.